In April 2023, one marketing executive sent one package to one influencer, and in doing so, destroyed $20 billion of brand value. This is not a political story. This is a marketing autopsy. I want you to understand something before we go further. Bud Light didn't die because of a controversy. Hundreds of brands survive controversies every year. Nike survived Colin Kaepernick. Patagonia survived going anti-corporate. Apple survived Steve Jobs being fired twice. Bud Light didn't survive a Tuesday afternoon Instagram post. Why? The answer has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with a marketing law most brands never even learn until it's too late. Let's go back 1982. Ronald Reagan is president. Michael Jackson just released Thriller, and somewhere in St. Louis, Missouri, Anheuser-Busch is quietly engineering the most dominant beer brand in American history. The strategy was simple, almost brutally simple. Make a beer that offends nobody. Light enough for anyone, cheap enough for everyone, marketed to the absolute center of American culture. Blue-collar workers, sports fans, backyard barbecues, Friday nights after a long week. For 40 years, it worked. By 2023, Bud Light was the single best-selling beer in the United States. Not the best reviewed, not the most respected, the best-selling. $15 billion in annual revenue. Sold in every gas station, every sports stadium, every corner store from Maine to California. That's not a product, that's infrastructure. That is what they decided to risk. April 1st, 2023, Bud Light's marketing team, led by newly appointed VP Alyssa Heinerscheid, decides to evolve the brand. Her words, not mine. In an interview just weeks before the disaster, she said the brand had, quote, fratty and out-of-touch humor, and that she wanted to move toward inclusivity. Now, pause. I'm not here to debate that decision politically. I'm here to tell you why, from a pure marketing standpoint, that sentence should have terrified every executive in that boardroom. Because here's what she just said, translated into marketing language. We are going to intentionally alienate our existing core customer base in order to attract a new customer base that was never buying our product to begin with. That is not evolution. That is demolition. But they did it anyway. Personalized can, a single Instagram post, and a collaboration with influencer Dylan Mulvaney, who had 10 million followers, virtually none of whom were Bud Light's core demographic. The post went live, and then nothing. For about 48 hours, nothing. And then the internet caught fire.
With pictures of sporting events, concerts, people refusing to buy Bud Light, and also grocery stores. And Buck, over the weekend, it got to the point they were giving away Bud Light. They were doing whatever they could to get rid of their product.
Within 72 hours, Bud Light was trending globally. Country music stars publicly threw their cases in the trash. Videos of people pouring Bud Light down the drain racked up millions of views. Kid Rock shot cases with a machine gun on camera. Bars across the American South pulled it from tap. Distributors, the actual human beings whose livelihood depended on moving cases of Bud Light out of warehouses, started calling corporate, panicking. And here is where the story gets truly devastating. Because Bud Light had one move left. One. They could have owned it, leaned in, made a statement. They could have reversed course publicly, apologized to their base, and moved on. They chose option 3, silence. The company said nothing for weeks. And in marketing, silence is not neutral. Silence is a message. The message Bud Light sent to 40 years of loyal customers was this: you don't matter enough to defend. Now I need to teach you something, because this is the part nobody talks about. Everyone focuses on the controversy, the politics, the culture war. That's noise. The signal, the real reason Bud Light collapsed when Nike didn't, when Patagonia didn't, when dozens of other brands didn't, comes down to one law. Marketing law. Distribution is a brand decision. Write that down. Every distribution channel you enter is a brand statement. Every face you attach to your product is a brand statement. every audience you court, every partnership you sign, every influencer you gift, that is not a marketing tactic. That is your brand. Nike's core customer is a performance-obsessed, aspirational athlete. When Nike backed Kaepernick, they were speaking directly to that customer's values: rebellion, sacrifice, conviction. The product and the message were aligned. Bud Light's core customer is a working-class American male who drinks beer at a football game. Their entire brand equity, 40 years of it, was built on the implicit promise, this beer is for you, exactly as you are, no ideology required. The moment Bud Light entered a different distribution channel, the influencer economy of gender identity discourse, they didn't just change their marketing, they changed who they were. And their existing customer base felt that immediately. Not as offense, as betrayal. There is a difference. You can offend a customer and keep them. You cannot betray them and keep them. Let's look at what happened next. May 2023. Bud Light sales dropped 23% year over year. Not 5%, not 10%, 23% in 1 month. June 2023, down 28%. Modelo Especial, a Mexican beer that barely registered a decade ago, overtook Bud Light as America's best-selling beer. For the first time in 22 years, Bud Light was no longer number one. Anheuser-Busch's stock lost over $20 billion in market capitalization. 2 senior marketing executives were placed on leave. Alyssa Heinerscheid, the architect of Evolve the brand, quietly disappeared from her role. And the replacement campaign they launched? Ads featuring American flags, horses, country landscapes, desperately trying to remind their core customer who Bud Light used to be. It didn't work, because here is the brutal truth about brand perception. You can build it over decades. You can destroy it in days, but you cannot rebuild it with an ad. Once a customer decides you don't share their values, they don't come back. That's 40 years of consumer psychology research. But here's what I actually want you to take away from this. This is not a story about Bud Light. This is a story about the single most dangerous mistake a dominant brand can make: confusing distribution with identity. When you are everywhere, when you are infrastructure, your brand is not your logo. Your brand is your customer's self-image. Bud Light wasn't selling beer. They were selling permission. Permission to be regular, to be unapologetic, to crack open something cold after a hard day and not think about anything. That's the product. When it looks at its customer base and says to itself, we can do better than these people, you can't evolve by distancing yourself from the customers who helped you grow. They aren't a stepping stone, they're the foundation. And Bud Light learned this lesson the hard way. Before we go, there's another brand that made exactly the same mistake. A different industry, a different decade, same result. I made a video about this. It'll be out soon, or maybe it'll be right here. Watch it, because the pattern doesn't lie. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a brand the same way again.